when I speak to young people, I explain to them that basically the world is full of opportunities, and they have to look at the world with a realistic vision, but at the same time be optimistic, because they are the change. I am the change. We all are the change. And therefore, I recommend for them to look at what's going on, what they like, what they dislike, how they want to basically participate in a society, in a future, where they want to be, endorse the good values. And the good values are not, again, about power, about prestige, and about money. Those things, of course, bring a certain happiness potentially, but if all the billionaires were the happiest people in the world, we would know.
Eric Ripert, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
I'm so happy to be with you on the show today.
For those of you who do not know, we are honored to have him on the show. Eric is a Michelin-starred chef. He is the chef and co-owner of Le Bernardin in New York, which is like an iconic restaurant. He is like a multiple-time James Beard Award winner. He has his own show, Avec Eric, and has several cookbooks, one of which just came out in October, right? Called Seafood Simple?
Yes, Seafood Simple just came out in October, beginning of the month, and we are gearing to the holidays, and hopefully we'll sell a lot of them, because it's a great book.
I have no doubt any opportunity anyone could get to impart some of your knowledge is a good one. So everyone go out, purchase the book. We can talk about that more throughout the episode too. But I want to hear in your words, when people say, what do you do? What do you say?
It depends. Most of the time, I don't lie. I say I'm a chef. And sometimes people in the streets yell my name. They're like, hey, but not even my name. They yell like, "Hey, you! I know you. What do you do?" And sometimes I lie.
What do you say?
I say I am a tourist.
That's so French to just make it into a joke.
I'm not really lying. I'm kind of a tourist, actually.
That's true. Do you still feel like a tourist in the United States after all these years?
So I came to the US in 1989, and I live in New York since 1990 something, 90, and I still look at the buildings like a tourist. I'm still looking at Central Park like it's the first time I'm walking in a park. I'm still, mesmerized by the city of New York.
Well, I think that's wonderful. That probably means you're in the right place if you continue to be inspired after all these years.
Yes, and New York is such a great inspiration in many ways. The energy of the city and what's happening in New York 24/7. Obviously, you have to take breaks because you can't be 24/7, but it's amazing. It's one of a kind. It's only in New York City.
Yeah, there truly is nothing like it. You just have to have the energy to keep up. See, that's where I fall short. In New York, I spend 2 days there and I'm exhausted.
Well, I spend 5 days and I take my weekend to go to the country and look at the squirrels and the deers and in the trees and so on, and the birds.
There you go. That's how you get some balance. Well, I would love to know, I'm sure everyone would, can you tell us a little bit about how you got introduced to cooking, how you became a chef, a little bit of your story?
I think I wanted to be a chef my entire life, really. I mean, when I remember being 4 years old, I knew I wanted to be a chef. I had two grandmothers, one from the south of France, Provence, and one from Italy, northern part of Italy. And then my mom was an amazing cook. My grandmother were cooking soul food from their own culture and region. And my mom was cooking fine dining food for the family because she was passionate about creating an experience for us, which was amazing. She was a businesswoman and a very successful businesswoman. But she would wake up at 5 a.m. to create for lunch, appetizer, main course, cheese dessert, and then at night the same appetizer, main course, cheese and dessert, and all different on different pattern of china, different flowers, different tablecloth. So I was exposed to soul food, and I was exposed to fine dining without knowing. I was spoiled and thinking that every kid in the world was eating like me.
We were not, I can assure you.
I realized that later on in life, but I was mesmerized by watching what was going on in the kitchen, and I was reading a lot of cookbooks. Actually, so many cookbooks that at the end I became a very bad student because I was not doing my homework, and therefore at 15 I had to find a vocational school because they didn't want me anymore. And it's when I ask and I beg to find me a spot in a culinary school, and that was the beginning of my cooking career as a professional. Graduated at 17, and then moved to Paris and worked in some of the best restaurants in Paris, with the same vision from that young age until now. Actually, I always wanted to be the chef that I am today, which means in a beautiful restaurant with a beautiful kitchen, all the equipment we need, beautiful products, an army of chefs around me helping me to basically create the vision that I have for the experience for the client, with a beautiful dining room, a lot of waiters and sommeliers, and that I'm living the dream basically.
Yeah, what a beautiful story. I'm wondering, are there certain things that you ate growing up that you had this, like, food can be it can be a very emotional experience. Like, you can feel things when you eat. Were there certain foods that you remember eating being like, I just want to learn how to make these. I want to learn how to make things taste this good throughout my entire life?
Yes, of course. I knew what I dislike.
Yeah.
So when I was young, I don't know who said to my parents or to the generation of my parents that feeding brain to your child will make him smarter. But it was a trend, and we were being served brains from lamb and veal and so on, and I will use my spoon like a catapult and throw the brain throughout the kitchen. I was on the high chair, very young. I have very vivid memories of that. Of course, my parents were not happy, but I knew I didn't like that. And then I was really fascinated by soufflé, for instance. Like to see the soufflé rise in the oven, and you cannot open the door because if you open the door, it falls again. And so you have to look through the window and see the soufflé rising and the anticipation. And I knew that it was something that I will do one day, and I was hoping to be successful. And I make soufflé sometimes, yes.
And you remember that moment.
Oh, I remember those moments, yes. I was also fascinated by puff pastry. So I will make puff pastry, and the entire family will eat for months anything with puff pastry. Until I would get tired and do something else, and so on. And then really I got fascinated by how you can make sauce and entrap into the liquid flavors and capture the flavors. And that became a passion that has been with me all my career, my entire life basically. I'm fascinated by capturing flavors and in something that is not necessarily friendly to capture flavors, like a broth or a sauce. It's something that is difficult to manage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it elevates the whole meal. Sometimes you have an incredible sauce on something and you're like, this meal would be completely different without this sauce.
Absolutely.
100%. Okay, so I'm very interested to know your answer to the question of the show. What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
To stop complaining, smile, and say thank you.
I love it. So did someone tell you that advice? Where did that come from?
No, someone told me that advice.
When? What was the story behind it?
Well, when we were young, we were working a lot of hours in the kitchen. I was 17, 18, 19 in Paris. When I say a lot of hours, we were working from 6, 7 a.m. until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So basically, we would have very little time to go home, take a shower, sleep, come back. And I will complain that it was a bit too intense to my friends. And one day, one of the sous chefs heard me and he came to me and he said, "Come here," and he gave me that advice because he explained to me, he said, "Look, you are extremely lucky to be here. It's one of the best kitchen in the world. You are part of that team, and the training you're getting is amazing, and it's going to be with you all your life. And the only thing you're looking at is your comfort, and basically." You complaining to your friends all day long, like, oh. Shut up, smile, say thank you. I was like, okay.
That's from all of the movies and stories I've heard of chefs, that definitely sounds like what I would imagine being said. I mean, the hours, though, do seem crazy. And I mean, clearly you have gone through that whole process. Were there times where you were like, I'm just going to give up? Like, this is too hard.
No, I never wanted to give up. It's interesting because, yes, of course, I had moments when I was down, physically tired, mentally tired. But I would always think like, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to do better. And whatever will bring me down that day, I will be like, tomorrow it's not going to happen. I will make sure that they will not tell me that my sauce is not good or whatever they will tell me that will be challenging for me. But I never lost my hunger for being successful in the kitchen. And when I say successful, I'm not speaking about being famous or thinking about money or about anything like that. When I say successful, it was about learning, evolving, and again, potentially becoming the chef that could create whatever he wants and have an army around him, a team around him that will help him to create that vision. And that was all the time.
I mean, not everyone, though, has that kind of resilience. Like, do you feel like maybe someone in your life gave you that ability every time you were knocked down to just be like, I'm going to get back up, I'm going to try again tomorrow? Or have you had that since you can remember?
So when I was a young child, I was kind of stubborn and a strong head, definitely. And nothing will bring me down. And then my father passed away when I was young, and my mother remarried, and so on. And I had a stepfather that was challenging, and I think I learned a lot from that relationship of never giving up, because my stepfather and we would butt head. And I was a young kid. I was 10, 11, 12, and of course he was an adult. And those battles, I would say, were really a good training for the future in my life. So as much as I dislike my stepfather, I'm grateful for all those battles that trained me for bigger battles later on.
I think that most of us can say that of the most challenging situations in our life. Sometimes they teach us the most important lessons and give us the characteristics that we need to succeed in the future.
Yes, I mean, if everything is a piece of cake, if I may, if everything is a walk in a park, you don't learn much. You learn when you have challenges that are affecting you, and then hopefully you learn the right way, you learn the lesson, and you move on. And that's very important.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said. Do you have maybe a biggest lesson that you've learned in your life thus far from one of the most challenging times?
I think it's very important today I'm looking at my life and where I am with my family and the restaurant and what I'm doing with the books and when I am on television and so on. And I think it's very important to to stay humble and to be grateful all the time. And every morning I remind myself that I'm extremely lucky in life. I could be born in a challenging country. I could be starving. I could be with an illness. I could be, I don't know, many things. But I am in New York City, living my passion, and that's a very great luck that I have. So I'm grateful, and then I want to stay humble, and I practice every morning. I do meditation, and then I start with my day. But it's very helpful to keep my feet on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and most people, I would say, who have attained your level of worldly success in their field, it would probably be really easy to get a really big head, to not be humble at all. I mean, most people will not get to where you have gotten. So I think that's a very good grounding practice.
Yet, well, I know a lot of very successful people that are also very humble as well and grateful. But it's, in life you encounter many people, and I try to be patient with all of them and
Yeah.
be given as much as I can, be generous in many ways, with my time, with anything, with my knowledge, or anything I can do to be helpful. And that brings an amazing joy at the end of the day when, it's not like I set challenges for myself for the day, but I say, okay, today you are starting your day and you commit to be a good person and you're going to do good things today. And then when I come back at home at night, I go to the bathroom, I look at myself in the mirror, and I ask myself, how did you do today? And,
I love that.
and when I haven't done so well, it reminds me exactly what I was doing when I was young. I'm like, oh, today I haven't done well. I mean, tomorrow I can do much better. So tomorrow I will start again and try to do better again. And by doing that, of course, I'm biased about myself, but I think I'm evolving in the right way.
I love that too, because you don't harp on the mistakes you made that day. You just decide, okay, I didn't do my best today, and so tomorrow I'm going to try again. I think that's the key. You can't go back to the past and change what you did. A lot of times you just have to live with it, but what you can do is change tomorrow. And I love that that's like your focus in that daily practice.
Yes, that daily practice is really, really important for me. And you're right, the past doesn't exist any longer. It's gone. And the future doesn't exist yet. So you have to be in the present, and what you do in the present has to be something that is very rewarding for people around you and for yourself ultimately.
Absolutely. I'm thinking like you need to make an inspirational book, honestly. You are just spitting fire with these quotes. I am like taken back by all of them. Do you have a biggest lesson that cooking has taught you in your life?
For sure that cooking and being the chef that I am today has given me a lot of opportunities to do good deeds in my community. Therefore, I am very engaged with an organization called City Harvest in New York that basically rescue food that is perfectly fresh but will go to waste and distribute it to people in need through shelters and mobile markets in the 5 boroughs of New York. City Harvest last year delivered 90 million pounds of food to people in need. This year we already had 77 million pounds of food. And I'm very involved with them. I'm the vice chair of the board, and it makes me feel good. Also, the fact that I'm the only guy with the white hair in the kitchen give me the position of being the mentor of all those young employees that we have in the kitchen and in the dining room. And I have the responsibility as the leader that I am to basically share the knowledge and make sure that I'm preparing them for a very successful future, whatever future they decide. But those things are important.
Do you have advice that you give to those young chefs, the people that you mentor? What do you tell them regarding their career or just life as a chef?
It all depends. You know, everybody's very different, and you cannot have basically one message for everyone in a team. We work with human beings, not robots, and also some of them have different sensitivities, different capabilities, and also different desires in their life. However, when they come see me and they talk about what they would like to do in the future in their career, or what kind of advice do I have, and so on, I listen to them. And for instance, sometimes they come and they're like, I really love Le Bernardin and thank you for what you taught me, but I would like to open a very small restaurant. I want to go back to my state in Montana and have a 20-seat restaurant there, and it's my passion, and I want to promote organic food. And I'm like, this is great. I think it's fantastic. But do you want to build a family too? So very often they will say, yes, I would like to build a family. And you would like to have some children? Yeah, I would love to have some children. Oh, and you like to go in vacations? Yes, I want to go. I want to travel a little bit and discover the world. Well, in that case, you have to make sure that the model that you're creating for yourself can sustain that. Because you speak about a 20-seat restaurant in Montana. I'm saying Montana, but let's say Chicago. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It could be New York. But you're talking about 20 seats. How are you going to be sustainable with the restaurant, and how are you going to be able to sustain a family? Because it's very important. It's not just about cooking. And then sometimes I open their eyes and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't think like that.
Yeah.
So I say to them, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And where do you want to be in 20 years? And try to keep that vision with you, thinking that it's always some good and a little bit of bad sometimes. Nothing is perfect, but try to keep that vision and basically put all your mental energy into creating that future that you want, but make sure that you think about it pretty well, because you don't want to make a mistake and in 10 years from now say, oh my God, I didn't think, and now I am where I am and I'm not really where I would like to be.
Always make sure the decisions you're making today are getting you to where you want to be tomorrow.
Yes.
I love that. It is so refreshing to me that, like you mentioned, family and values that are completely outside of just what we do for work, which I think is something we neglect as a society a lot. We're like, work is everything, your job is everything, but it's not. It's a piece of the puzzle of life. And how have you maintained like such a steady grounding throughout all of this?
Well, I think a lot when I'm at home, I guess. And,
it seems to be working.
I created a system for me, and if I can make an analogy, let's imagine we do a circle, and then in that a pie, and we divide the pie in 3. So 1/3, and it's not really, you don't count into hours or something like that, but let's say in that pie, you divide the pie in 3 for your journey, and you say 1/3 will be for my family, 1/3 will be for work, and 1/3 will be for me, by myself, to think about my life and to be a better family member, a better boss if you have a business, and so on. But when you do something like that, if you spend time with the family, they will support you to achieve your goal professionally. And then if professionally you are successful, they basically helping you to be with your family, and both of them are supporting you to have time for yourself And that system works for me. So I recommend the idea of thinking about the pie with the three portions in it, and try to implement it if it's possible in your life. Because if not, your life is in balance, and either way you work too much, or you don't work enough, or
Yeah.
you don't have time to think, to improve things in life for yourself or for your community and family and loved ones and so on.
Yeah. I think a lot of us could relate to that pie being out of balance a lot. And I think that's when the hard times in our lives come about, is when one of those pieces is bigger or smaller than it should be. And I think that balance is key to fulfillment and happiness, truly.
Yes. And again, I'm lucky that I can implement it in my life. I know that I know people that cannot really do it because they're struggling financially, they have to work more, but it's my model that works pretty well. And when I recommend it to some friends that I know, it works for them. So it can be an inspiration. It's not necessarily something that has to be copied 100%, but it could be an inspiration.
Yeah. Well, and I think life goes through different seasons, and sometimes maybe those pieces of the pie have to be bigger, like you said, based out of necessity. But the key is to keep trying to, I think, swing them into balance when you can.
Yes, that's definitely the answer.
I love that analogy. Is there a best piece of personal life advice that you would give to young people, having the experience, the life and career experience you've had? What would you want to tell young people today?
Well, when I speak to young people, I explain to them that basically the world is full of opportunities, and they have to look at the world with a realistic vision, but at the same time be optimistic, because they are the change. I am the change. We all are the change. And therefore, I recommend for them to look at what's going on, what they like, what they dislike, how they want to basically participate in a society, in a future, where they want to be, endorse the good values. And the good values are not, again, about power, about prestige, and about money. Those things, of course, bring a certain happiness potentially, but if all the billionaires were the happiest people in the world, we would know.
So true.
So I have discussions with them and make them laugh. But ultimately, what I want is for them to again take the time to think where they are going, and to make the right choices that will have a positive impact for themselves and everybody, including the planet.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe
Yes.
think outside of ourselves even a lot of the time.
Yes. But thinking about the planet is very important, because it's only one planet that we have here. It's our house. And I think we are about 7 billion people now
Yeah.
living on this planet. And we have to think about, we cannot be individualistic anymore. We have to think globally. And we are
Absolutely.
one of the 7 billion people on this planet. So we have to have that kind of a view, and then decide for ourselves where we want to be and
Yeah.
do.
Yes. Care for each other, care for ourselves, care for this beautiful planet that we've been gifted, that we are responsible for now taking care of.
Yes, in many ways. And this is not a religious message here. It's a universal message.
No.
It's
Yeah.
based on logic. It's based on logic. It's based on a certain reality, and I think it's important for everybody to think.
Just beautiful advice. I could write like a whole book of all these quotes you're throwing out. The final two things I know everyone, usually we don't ask a lot of like career specific questions, but we got to, while we have the opportunity, just a couple of cooking tips and tricks. what do you think is like one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're cooking?
Shopping is very important. And a lot of people, especially when we speak about seafood, but in general, shopping is one of the most essential element of cooking. And if you choose mediocre ingredients, it doesn't matter how good you are in cooking. At the end, you will have a mediocre dish. So knowing how to choose wisely, it's very important. And I see a lot of mistakes, especially with seafood. Like I mentioned, people have the tendency to buy fish that smells already. When they cook the fish at home, the house stink, and then it's fishy and nobody wants to eat it. And if you have a family, your kids look at you and they're mad at you. And so you have to learn how to choose. And it's the same for everything. Then what I see very often is overcomplicating the recipes. Too many things in a plate. And it makes your life miserable in a sense because you have so much work suddenly. And also, let's suppose you cook a chicken, or you decide, or if you're vegetarian, you decide to cook, let's say, I don't know, a couscous of vegetables, or if it's seafood, it's a piece of halibut. Well, I think you have to think about it. What is going to elevate my piece of halibut and enhance all the qualities of that fish? Or if it's a chicken, have the same reasonment about it. And then you will realize that actually you don't need that much. You need less. And it's less work and better result. And one other mistake that I see is overcooking. Very often, I speak about seafood a lot because Le Bernardin is a seafood restaurant. I have the book Seafood Simple, as you know. But when you overcook seafood or anything, suddenly the flavors are gone, the texture is gone, it's dry, it's tasteless. So those are three mistakes. Not knowing how to choose the ingredients, overcomplicating, overcooking.
I feel like those truly can be applied. I think of even my experiences cooking, and all of those things really have ruined recipes. Adding too much, having the wrong ingredients, and especially overcooking, and especially fish, it like ruins the entire thing. It's not even worth eating if it's overcooked.
I agree with you.
It's so sad. You spend all this money, you have a beautiful piece of fish, you overcook it, it's ruined.
Yeah. Well, that's why actually this is really the reason why I did this book, Seafood Simple.
Yeah.
I really wanted to help a lot of people who are intimidated by cooking seafood because they had a bad experience in their life, at least once. And they believe they don't like seafood, or they believe they don't know how to treat it properly. Actually, it's simple. Just look at the basics and learn, and then move on, and you'll be successful.
That is the perfect segue, because I was going to say, yes, your new book, that is probably like one of your biggest projects you have right now. It just got released. And if people want to implement the little tricks that you shared, then buy Eric's book and learn how to cook simply and with beautiful ingredients and the right way.
Yes, I think it's. I have the book on the front of me. And,
let's see it.
Actually, the cover is my hand, and you can see some salt falling on the fish. And basically, we're teaching the technique of seasoning. So we give tips about shopping, about seasoning, and then many other techniques are in the book. But all of that is to help you from A to Z, from the beginning to the end. And it's almost idiot-proof.
Well, the pictures from what I saw online were beautiful, and it's already in my Amazon cart, so I will be purchasing. Eric, this has been truly such a pleasure, such an honor. Is there any way else that people can support you? Everyone, go check out his new book, Seafood Simple. Where else can we go to support your work with what you're doing for your nonprofit organization? Tell everyone how they can be there.
Well, they definitely can go on the site of City Harvest, So cityharvest.com, of course, .org, I'm sorry, cityharvest.org. And it's in New York, so if you live in New York, you can volunteer. You can help in many different ways. You can give money, and you can be involved in bringing visibility to the organization and so on. And then you can always come to eat at Le Bernardin. That will make me happy as well, make you happy. And of course, if you buy the book, I'm glad that I'll end up in your kitchen.
Wonderful. Eric, it has truly, truly been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And to everyone listening, don't forget to subscribe to The Shift, hear more of the best advice that people have ever gotten, and we will see you on the next episode.